Hello, loved ones. Thank you for joining us today. And if you're new to the channel, then welcome to the family. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can be part of the congregation. And if you want to be part of the conversation, make sure you shout out in the comment section below. If you are excited about a specific Married at First Sight couple, then make sure you check out the timestamps in the description box. Be sure to stay until the end so that you can get fuel you can use, which is a spiritual truth to help you through the week. Welcome to Fueled by Intentions, where we talk about faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. Sponsored by Bynum's Business Solutions, where the right fit is made simple. We specialize in tips, tools, and strategies designed to help you achieve your financial health so that you can take control of how you spend your money so that you can spend more time with your family, friends, and doing the things you love. So let's jump right into the video. Today, we will be reviewing Married at First Sight Season 14, Episode 10. John, are you ready for this today?
I am ready for it. This is an exciting episode, so I can't wait to dig into it.
All right, John. So we are going to start off this episode like we do all episodes, talking about the title. The title was Mighty Mighty Boston Bonds. Do you think the title of the episode reflected what you saw in the show?
Well, I know that the show is being filmed in Boston, and couples are from Boston, and since it's about marriage, that's a bond. So I guess that would go with the title, Mighty Mighty Boston Bonds.
Interesting, because when I first heard the title, I'm like, I sound like I'm going to a football game, like the Mighty Mighty Lions or whatever. And I understand they were probably playing on the words of the bondage, the exercises that they had. But I felt like the episode was really about the bonds of trust. And so I think that maybe if they just said Boston Bonds of Trust or something that more related to what was going on. I didn't see how the Mighty Mighty fit in. And I don't know if they really had to even include the city title. But I did look up what they were trying to say, so I understand where they were going. But the title did not do it for me this week. And I am so tired of being in disagreement with Married at First Sight. So Lifetime, can you help me out? Can you help me out and bring some titles that I can get behind? All right, we're gonna start off with our first couple, Noe and Steve. I was really glad that on this episode that all the couples were able to explore intimacy. I was surprised that Noe said that she would be okay with Steve watching porn. I don't think many women would be okay with that. Also, I thought it to be a growing point for Noe because Steve made a point that this episode was the first time that she said sex out loud, especially within public. So I was really glad to see her kind of coming out of your shell. I believe on this episode, they revealed that they have been intimate with one another. I was wondering how that was going to play out since she did not want to talk about it. But when Dr. Viviana said, I hear you guys have been intimate, I thought that that was the signal to us that they have now consummated their relationship, but had asked them to be respectful and they don't want to talk about it, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. I really enjoyed their conversation with Dr. Viviana. I did not like Steve's response. In that conversation, Noe was being very vulnerable and admitting that she has to change in terms of being silent. She also explained why she's silent in terms of not wanting to say anything hurtful and that has happened in the past. So her way to deal with it is to be silent, but that was something that she was going to work on. And I did not like Steve's response at all. Well, that's not going to work in our relationship. That's not the way we handle things. I thought he was being really harsh on her because I think that when someone admits that they are wrong and they are willing to change that about them, I think you should be more supportive in helping them. And she got it right. It's going to be hard for her to change. but it's something that she's willing. And I think I've said this 100 times. When somebody is trying to change a personality trait about themselves, it's going to take them time. And that other person has to give them the freedom in order to make that change and not think it's going to be an instant change. This was the first time that I had any compassion for Noi and her relationship with Steve as it relates to finances. I feel she finally explained it. It's really not about the finances, but it's more of that's just not how she pictured her life. So even though he can make an income, maybe he doesn't need to work, and maybe he can make an income that supports the family without working full time. She's never pictured it. And then Steve, oh my God, for him, the excuse thing. Well, the house is not going to be clean. I haven't seen you clean the house, and I haven't seen you participate. She hasn't had to participate. And then he said, well, let's try it out first. Well, you try working first, and then we'll try it out at the same time, and I will pull my weight in the household. But at this time, there's no reason for me to pull my weight in the household because you're not working and you can do it. And now we're equally sharing in the moving forward of our household together. I also like that he shared with the guys that he had told Noi that he loved her and they were really enjoying that. And the reason why I liked it is because before he shared with them, when she said it and he didn't, and I feel like sometimes in relationships and sometimes in marriage, we tell our friends or our loved ones, we tell them one side, but when the story evolves or pans out, we don't go back and then share that information again. So I was really glad that he shared on both ends. He shared when she said it and he didn't respond, and now he shared that he said it. I think that that gives a very even balance to, what they're going through. I really did enjoy this couple this week. What about you?
She was the one that came up with the suggestion of having sex in a public or a semi-public place.
Yeah.
So, first I hear about porn and then I hear sex in a public or semi-public place. So I think she was always very, very open when it came down to sex and the liberality of sex, but she just had to wait to warm up to Steve. I think what Steve did is when Steve told Noi, when Noi told Steve that the way that she expresses herself silent first because she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. I think Steve, since he had felt the brunt of that, that's why he had came back to her so harshly and told, no, we need to talk this over. We need to talk this over. Because remember, Noi's way of being silent while present, but being very vocal while absent, posting it on the internet and everything like that. And those words were sharp. She had some short comments on that. So he's saying, no, at the time where the incident occurs, we need to discuss it. We need to talk it out. We don't need to let it fester. So I think I agree with Steve on the way that he handled Noi in that particular case. He said, no, we need to talk about it. We need to discuss it right then and there. The last thing is when Steve, I got to give Steve his props in terms of going to the boys and letting them know that he popped. He told her, it was like popping the question, but no, he told her he loved her. And guys, what? You said the L word? Man, he was the first one to break it up. Said, hey man, I said the L word. I just want you guys to know, I said the L word. So he might be the icebreaker. Maybe the other guys will start saying, well, man, this is my wife and I do want her to know that I truly do care about her and I'm in a relationship for the long haul. So the L word is appropriate, and I'm just glad that Steve was the first one to bring it up or to break out with it.
Yes, the last thing that I think about this couple is I like the game, the intimacy game, the 5 senses, but I was like, is Steve calling Noi a liar? Because she said, oh, I never done a body shot. I never done. And he's like, well, I've done a body shot and I think that she has too. And I'm like, oh my God, did he just call her out? I have not done a body shot, nor do I. I think I would do it like Noe did, because he gave her two choices. You could either do it on the skin or you can do it out
Right,
of the
right.
glass. I think that the glass would have been appropriate for me. Some of the other couples did it the other way, and I was just like, I don't think I could do that. I love my
Uh-huh.
husband, I just don't think I could. But I thought that the games, each of the games fit the personality of the couples and took the couple in mind as to where they were in their relationship. And I thought the Five Senses was a really, really good game. And I love that each of the couples both dived in and actually did the exercise instead of one person being all shy about it. Like Mirla, I'm not going to do that. That's
Uh-huh.
not me. I wouldn't do
That's right.
that. Like they all dove in head first. And I think that that's hard because you're on national television and you know people are going to be seeing you and judging you. So I was really glad that they all participated. All right, well, let's move on down the road to our next couple, which is Lindsay and Mark. Lindsay, it opened up with Lindsay talking to her friend, kind of venting, telling her friend about where she was in her relationship with Mark, which was very interesting to me because it is so hard to watch on TV for her to sit there and talk to and vent to her friend like that. But I believe that it's normal for a lot of us. I know I've talked to my friends. Now I'm a much measured, more so than Lindsay. So I don't think that I've stalked in an embarrassing way. But I've talked to my friends, I've talked to my sister, or those who I feel close about my relationship. I don't know if I've went into intimacy like Lindsay, because that was her whole conversation was about intimacy. But I thought it was so funny because the no button was sitting right there by on the table while Lindsay was talking, and I just wanted to say no, no. I just wanted to hit the button since that's what the friends had given to Mark in order to do. But I thought her friend gave her some really good advice. Basically, she said, Lindsay, you are way too much and you need to bring it on down. And I love that her friend said, well, I cannot believe that about Mark because he's such a caring person. But Lindsay, every chance she gets, she tries to tear him down. Well, he wasn't loving it that. She always wants to point out the negative about it. And I think they're going to make it to decision day. But I think if he watches back the episodes to see the many digs that she's gotten in on him behind closed doors, then I don't think that he is going to want to stay in that relationship. And then, of course, they had the game, the question and answer game. And of course, Lindsay takes it too far when they were on the beach. I feel like she just takes it too far every time. And when Dr. Viviana came, I did not like Lindsay calling her Viv. Well, Viv, she called her like 2 or 3 different names. Well, Viv, no, that is Dr. Viviana. She is not your peer. She is not your equal. That is just like me calling my pastor by his first name when he's like anytime. I never call my pastor by his first name. I thought that was disrespectful to Dr. Viviana, and I did not like it, nor did I appreciate it. I was so glad that Dr. Viviana told her, you know, if you want this relationship to work and you want the intimacy that you desire, you have to watch what you say because the language that you're using is not going to get you what you want. And for them not to hit below the belt. And it's really interesting because Mark, he just sits there very patiently. He doesn't respond. But of course, before Dr. Viviana came, he was like, well, I don't know how this is going to go. He doesn't know how Lindsay is going to fare out in her words. But I think that she got some good advice from both her friend and Dr. Viviana. The question is she going to take it? But I do think she does these little digs on Mark all the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the very first thing that I have to state is when talking to a friend, who would I rely on to talk if I were to talk about my spouse or my significant other? it would probably be someone that I respect, because if we're talking about marriage, that they have been married in for their season in matrimony, so they know the flows of marriage and stuff like that, so that they could give me some real good advice from someone that's seasoned. I couldn't just go to just anybody just because they're my quote unquote friend or best friend. They would have to be qualified for me to go to them to talk on issues of marriage. Okay. Another thing in terms of Lindsey, hitting below the belt, hitting below the belt. When is it okay to hit below the belt?
Never.
And I would say never, never. You're in a marriage, and like I quoted last week, God said the man and the woman were naked, okay, and they were not ashamed. Naked means they were vulnerable. You see my weaknesses and I see your weaknesses. And you should never go and jump on my weaknesses, okay? When you actually know, yes, that's a weakness, but you should be my protector. You should be my guard. You should keep those weaknesses that I have guarded as you would want me to keep the weaknesses that you have guarded. So the fact that Lindsey will hit below the belt, and she's done it many times. And you're right, when I believe when Mark goes back and he sees the taping of the show, and he sees the type of digs that she made, sometimes those are unrecoverable, and they may not be recoverable in their particular situation. I like the advice that Dr. Viviana gave her, and I'm just hoping that she will take that advice to heart.
Well, the word does say to be careful, that you need to get wise counsel. So when you are seeking advice from anyone, I think that even in our friend groups, I have quite a few friends, and I'm very measured, very selective about what type of advice I'm going to take from which friend. Some friends, I know their stance on something may not be biblically sound, and so I may not go to them for that particular subject. So I agree, you have to be very careful of who you are listening to when it comes to advice, which the Bible tells us. Also, for Lindsey and Mark, I loved the Nerf game. I love how she set it up, that when he came in, there was a little gun. And I really thought it was so cute that she said a better gun is hiding somewhere in the house. And so like he could look for this other gun. I hate that she hid in the closet right there, because that was like the first place he looked. And I always like his attitude. He's always willing to go in with Lindsey, but I loved to see them laugh. I love to see them laugh. And I thought the intimacy game that they chose for them, which was, it was about being quiet, silence, and doing everything in silence. I thought that the game was a little too much for me, but I love that both of them, again, went in. And I love Mark's attitude. He said, how I interpret it is, this really is not for me, but whatever Lindsey wants to do, I'm going to do. I'm going to go along with it. And I thought that he was a great sport about it.
Yeah, I didn't like the Nerf game. The guy, I didn't like it at all, because Mark even said it seems like Lindsey was enjoying shooting him. You know, she was the aggressor, and he was basically trying to defend himself. So she always wants to be in the power role, you know. So I didn't like that that particular game because of that. And I don't think that Lindsey has done a good job of trying to win Mark's heart, because men operate under respect, women operate under love.
On the girls' outing, I did like Lindsey's approach to hard times. She said, you know, even though they've had some hard times, that she has learned a lot about Mark even in those times, and she feels like that's still going to be a stepping stone towards a lasting relationship. I really like that. Another thing I like about Lindsey this week is when she did take the photos of Mark, she said, I'm going to put this on our refrigerator and we're going to talk about this to our grandkids. I love when people see beyond the 8 weeks, when they're not just thinking about decision day, but they're thinking of this as a long-term relationship. So I did like that she had that perspective on their relationship. The other thing that I would say about Lindsey is this week when she was talking in the outing with the girls, and she was just like, I've had some great guy boyfriends, but on a couple of episodes, you said that they were liars, stealers, cheaters, and all of this, but now there are some great guys. I do like that she ended with, but the qualities that Mark have, they don't have the qualities that he has. So I'm glad that ended up being a positive for him. And then she also shared with the ladies that she wanted to be wooed. And I love that she also shared that with Mark. Although his response was, she'll get you wooed when it's time to be wooed, and it's not time to be wooed. But I do like, if you have a concern that you are sharing with your friends, then it's nice that you share that with your husband, because they're not a mind reader. So I do like that she shared it with him and told him kind of where she was. And I did like by the end of the episode, as she shared with the females, that their intimacy has gotten better for her. And now they may be on a smoother page with that, since the episode opened with that being the issue, that by the time they met with the girls, that it had smoothed out. I don't know how long it's going to stay because it's Lindsey, but at least it ramped up enough for her to say something positive about it.
Yes, Lindsey said that she needed to be wooed, but Mark is saying, if you want to be wooed, then what you'll do is tone that stuff down that causes conflict and disturbances among not only me and you, but among our friends. So if you would tailor that stuff down, you'll find out that not only would I love you and respect you more, but I will woo you more. So Mark has been giving her signals all this time. If you want to be wooed, this is all you have to do. It's just that Lindsey really hasn't been listening.
Absolutely, but they didn't have really conflict this time, so I was really glad to see no conflict. This is the second episode that they had no conflict on, so that was a good thing.
And I would really say the reason why they haven't had that conflict is Mark is really trying to do whatever he needs to do to avoid conflict, so that Lindsey will not get riled up like she has in the past. In fact, he's made it his mission after the restaurant scene a few episodes back, when he told her how much he appreciated her and stuff like that. He said, on video, how he was going to try to do things that will keep her happy so that she doesn't move off the rails.
So now we will move on down to OLAJAWON and KATINA. I was so excited to see OLAJAWON cooking pancakes when the episode opened. They got this little flash scene. He was making his little pancakes. So I don't know, that kind of gave me mixed feelings about maybe what he says is not exactly what he does. Maybe he does help, although I think he helps on things that he thinks is important and maybe not things that she thinks are important. They then talked to Dr. Viviana. And I love this time that Dr. Viviana and all the experts, they are making it known, look, we're watching you. We see every move you make, and she's just like, you know what? Every time we see you talking about food, oh God. And his thing, he doubled down. He was not shying away from it, which is like, oh, this is what makes me happy. But honestly, can another person really make you happy? I don't believe that you can. I think that only Christ can make you happy.
Yes.
So I feel like, when people say they're looking for that in the mate, for their mate to make them happy, I don't think that is a reasonable expectation, because that's not something that another person can provide. But I love the question that Dr. Viviana asked. did you eat before you got married? And it's so funny because he said, I would just grab me something simple, but I can't do that now because I'm married. So you can't eat something simple and light now because you got a wife. And I think that it is very challenging when you cannot cook, which I can't really cook either. And somebody is asking you to fix home cooked meals. Like that's different than just whipping something up or getting something like in a box that's going to help you make that meal. When people want home cooked meals, which I understand why, they're more healthier and all of this kind of stuff. But when you're just starting out, that is so intimidating. And I thought that Dr. Viviana made some really good points about you're going to ruin not only this relationship, but any relationship that you get into. And then said, hey, who raised you? Because whoever raised you to think like this, they don't even know the half of it. So I'm glad that she kind of shifted him away. But I thought that Olajuwon, I'm like, I don't even know which one to believe at this point. Because he was like, I felt like he was saying, well, the reason that I'm doing this, the reason that I'm beating her down and making her feel bad about who she is, which is how Dr. Viviana interpreted, was because she's not being vulnerable. So this is the only subject that I can bring up to make her be. I think that was a cop-out, and I don't think that was true, especially because on the after party, he said that Katina is very vocal and she's not all quiet and demure when they're by themselves. So are you beating her up and tearing her down because she is not being vulnerable? Or is she being vocal and vulnerable when the cameras are not there, but trying to be respectful towards you when they are? But I thought that I did like that Katina broke down and just said, hey, you know what? I feel like somebody is beating up on me. And yes. I didn't like, he just kind of looked, I wanted him to be more emotional about that, to see the pain, because I don't think she was faking. I think that she was really like this. And what really bothered me is she said, because he is already pointing out my insecurities. I would have loved to explore that a little more, because have somebody told you that you're lazy? Has somebody have criticized you about your cooking before? Is it the same subjects that you feel like he is? Because I don't see not cooking as an insecurity, but I feel like if that's been used as a weapon against you before, or maybe everybody in your family tell you lazy, you're not gonna make nothing of yourself, then I could see that becoming an insecurity. But you do, anytime somebody says something negative to you, I agree with her. You play that over and over and over in your head. And it takes, what do they say, like 20, 25, 50, 100 attaboys to erase that one negative that you said about somebody. I forgot the number, the ratio, but it takes a lot of attaboys to erase when somebody has said something to you that beats you down. But maybe she hasn't been as vulnerable. And only reason I say that is because in another clip, when she was doing the movie night, she said, well, I'm trying to be more vulnerable and I'm trying to be more open. So I feel like when they validate that for themselves, then maybe the person had it right in terms of what they saw. But I still don't think that gave Olajuwon a reason to beat her down. And I'm glad that Dr. Viviana did not let him up on that. And on the after show, Kevin, I really thought that Kevin made a really good point about how him and his wife shares the duties, and how he was like, is there not a Postmate? I don't know what Postmate is, because I don't think they're in my area. He's like, there's not a Postmate in your area? Trying to give him more opportunities to look at it differently. And I love the advice that Kevin gave him about this situation and about this scene. He says you have to remain flexible. You can't be too strong where you don't bend. And he related it to being like a bamboo, where you have to be flexible, open, and willing to change. So I'm hoping that between Dr. Viviana and Kevin, that's going to help Olajuwon think of this differently. But the fact that he puts all of his happiness, and one thing that is really scary, is when Katina said, and also Dr. Viviana validated it, that it's scary that she feels that he is going to leave her
Yes.
if she makes a mistake. And
Yes.
that is scary when you feel like you got to be perfect or you're not going to be accepted, is what I got from that. You're not going to be accepted because you're not perfect. And if that's the correct case, none of us are going to be accepted by anybody, because the only perfect person is Christ. So that was difficult to watch, but I thought it was a great conversation, and I hope that he can overcome and they can move on in their relationship.
What I saw in it is when he was first cooking is not the fact that he can't cook. You know, he can cook. Like we saw the pancake scene. Yeah, he could cook pancakes. I remember when before I was married, uh, I did cooking. I mean, I cooked for myself, but as soon as I got married and everything, my wife took over that, and she tells you now, said John never cooks. She asked me to do more cooking. It kind of like, hey, I got my wife now; she's going to do all the cooking, so I relaxed on it, which I shouldn't have done. I should have kept on cooking so that she would get a break sometime. She kind of spoiled me, but I think that's what Elijah was doing, because remember, Elijah once said before, he used to, when Dr. Viviana asked him, well, have you ever, I mean, did you eat before you got married at first sight? And he said, oh, yes, I used to go and grab something. Well, what he was talking about is he used to go to a fast food and just grab something to eat and stuff like that. But now that he's married, he thinks that he should be receiving a home cooked meal. Okay. And that's what he's expecting. That's what his standards are. He made her feel like she was worthless. To me, like I said, that's a no-go. And where she got to the point where she was afraid that she was going to lose him, I said, no, never let uh, never let another person determine your worth. Never let another person determine your worth. God has given you your worth. You got your God-given gifts. You got your God-given talent. And you had that before you met him, or you had that before you met her. So I think that Katina needed to put Elijah one in, needs to put Elijah one in check, letting him know that she is a valued person, period. And if he wants to continue a relationship with this valued young lady, then he's going to have to treat her and respect her as a valued young lady, or she will be pulling the plug. He won't have to worry about decision day. She'll let him know before decision day that it's going to be a no-go. So I think that she needs to just be stronger in that regard. Always be willing to give up something if to keep it, you have to devalue yourself. I like when Katina she surprised them with this movie adventure night, and they're going to be home. She has the candy, she has the popcorn, she got everything going, and it blew his mind because she remembered how he loved movies, and just being at home and being in a movie and stuff like that. And one thing that I found striking about that, Elijah stated how she hit the ball out of the park. It was a home run. He said you couldn't have done anything else better. And he gave her big props on stuff like that. And how she received it, it was like, oh, thank God. I finally did something right. I finally did something right. And I planned all of this, and she was so happy that she had finally done something right in his eyes. And that's the only thing that I find a little bit disturbing is, no, it's okay to do that, but you were valued before the movie scene, okay? Before the planning of this movie night. And it doesn't take his appreciation are positive reinforcement to let you know you're on the right track now, to validate who you are. So I still have some issues with Olajuwon, and I think that uh, and I'm praying honestly that Katina will step up to the bat and said, no, you need to treat me and respect me as the woman that I am. And if not, you don't deserve me.
I thought it was telling that Katina said, and they both agreed that he is the homebody. And it sounds like she still goes out every now and then because they made a big deal about him wanting to stay home and he doesn't go out. So maybe he has put Isaac behind him. Doesn't sound like he's going out and sounds like he's being very content with staying home and being a husband. I did like the movie night. I thought it was very nice of her. I think it's good that she still wants to try and do nice things that he enjoys in spite of his tone, and that he said he was going to work on his tone and the words that he uses, that she is still trying. One thing I did notice is there was no food, so she brought a lot of candy. But she still didn't bring him nothing to eat. I mean, like, movie night, like, can we get some pizza? Like, it was no food. It was still candy. So I'm kind of looking at Katina a little side eye on that one. Like, could have brought them a little pizza or something. It's still like nothing. All you just open up a couple of packages of candy and put it in a bowl. So let him make his point. So still didn't feed him. I love when they were doing their questions. They only showed a long question and answer period between Michael and Jasmina, but they showed the one question between Olajuwon and Katina, and it was, "What would you change if you could change anything about me physically? What would you change?" And he said, "Nothing. You are a perfect wife just the way you are." And I love that he affirmed her in that way, and she loved it too. Did you guys hear him? Did you guys hear my husband?
Yes,
So she
yes.
was really excited that he finds her physically attractive and wouldn't change anything. Think that was like spot on, Olajuwon. Great job. Then when they had their outing with the girls, I thought she was a great sport. I love that she was able to get along with Lindsay and there was not a scene. And I like how she interacts with Lindsay, knowing that she really doesn't care for her, but you can still be nice, kind, and cordial and engage in the same conversation. And I really like that about her. The dominatrix game, I thought that it was perfect for where they are in their relationship. I really think the experts were trying to highlight her being in control and her having a voice. They seemed very playful. Again, like the other couples, they both leaned into it and actually participated in the game and did it. So I really did enjoy that they were both participating and that the experts picked out a game specifically related to their personality. Where they are in their relationship, I should say, not totally personality, but where they are in their relationship, of her needing to be a little more dominant.
I think Dr. Viviani, when Olajuwon had told her that uh, that Katina needs to be a little bit more vulnerable and really speak up, that that was the role that they said, oh yes, if she's a dominatrix, then she would be in control and she would be the one that would be doing all of the ordering, and that way it would show that she has a voice. And I thought it was good because all Olajuwon could do is be her subject and her servant as she determined what she wanted to do with him, and he had to follow suit. So I thought that was pretty good. But I'm still looking for Katina to just do that without having a suit on, without having a whip or a baton in her hand. I would expect her to say, hey, I'm going to speak up and let you know the woman that I am. So
now we will move on down to our last couple. which is Jasmina and Michael. I enjoyed them at the beginning of this episode. It started off with Jasmina saying, "Oh, that was so much fun." And I love that they had so much fun playing the communication game that they played. And I love that they both were vulnerable. Both Jasmina and Michael were both vulnerable because they both shared about their childhood. And Jasmina told a story about when she was in high school and they played a prank on her. And then Michael told about how when he was 6 years old, so much stuff happened to him when he was 6. I mean, the bus thing happened when he was 6. His brother, when he was like 6 years old, was a very impactful year. And now I'm wondering, was he really 6 when all of this happens, or if that's just the age that he goes to recount the story, because he was young. But I thought it was a perfect story in terms of him being called the pee-pee boy because he peed on himself when he was 6. But what I really enjoyed about the story is that she could relate because she's an early childhood teacher. So I love when she kind of got defensive when he said, "Well, I raised my hand and I said, can I go to the restroom?" And the teacher said, "Wait till the story is over." And she was like, "What?" She said, "What?" Like, she looked like she was getting mad at the teacher. And I love that because I feel like that's when it puts you on the same team, even though it's like, 20 years ago, me and you against the teacher, and she seemed like she was really into the story. And really, I feel like that will show that they were a partnership there because she was getting emotional about, "I can't believe she didn't let you go to the restroom," And I admire Michael because I don't think I would have told the story on national television about being the PP boy. I do agree with her that just the word itself is funny, so she may not be laughing at him, but laughing with him because it's just a funny word. But I really did enjoy them enjoying each other, and I wish that I could see more interactions with them enjoying each other. I thought when they talked to Dr. Viviana, I just don't even, the argument that they had before Dr. Viviana was like, "Let's just start over." I don't even know how that got started. I'm like, what happened here? Like, who said what? But I still think that that's Jasmina, and she always has to be right. It always has to be her way, because soon as he started talking about, it's about our communication, she's not talking about communication. Well, that is a part of communication, how we handle that's not what she said. Well, just like, and he is so confused. He is just like looking at Dr. Viviana like, "I don't know where this is starting." And he even said, I don't know where we're going with this. I don't know where we're going with this because he doesn't understand how the arguments are starting either. And I think that was a good example of me not understanding why the argument started either. But I'm gonna give her grace because I can relate. I can relate to that. There have been many arguments that me and my husband have had, and I don't know how they got started either. But she just always has to be right. I do agree with her that the journaling, I believe that Dr. Viviana gave that to him. So when she was like, "I don't need to journal if I am saying what I need to say to you. You can journal, I will listen, and then I will say it to you." But I understood his point. His thing is that what we've been doing is not working. So let's both try something new, and let's both try it since we're in this together. But he had already said in the other conversation that he always feels like she is pointing out his negatives as if he's not trying. So I think that was a play off of that. Like, here you go again, making it look like I'm not trying, but you are. And then when she got up and left out of the room, she needed a minute. Sometimes you need to take it. I really liked that he was like, "Is she okay?" Because even though they were having a little disagreement, a little battle, he still wanted to make sure she was okay. Everything she said in the hall to the producer when she was talking about Michael was what she was doing. She wasn't listening to him. She wasn't hearing what he was saying. Her communication, she is not a good communicator at all. And when she came back in the room, honestly, Michael folded. He just folded and was like, look, whatever you want to try. I think he was like, whatever we can do to make this argument go away. I don't really care about journaling. If you want to try it your way, we can try it your way. But she is so headstrong on getting her way that I think that's going to be the downfall of her relationship. She cannot let him have nothing. He can nothing. She cannot let him have it. And I think you can rip me a new one if you think I'm wrong, but I think that that's going to wear him down from a male perspective if he is not able to lead in anywhere. In anywhere, it always has to be her way. And I believe that a man does want to be the leader, but she will not let him lead. No way, no how.
This is where humility is really needed. Is not that the wife is not as strong as the man, is that the wife allows the man to lead, and she plays the subordinate role in this particular case. Now, JASMINA, she's basically attacking what she says, quote unquote, are Michael's faults, and in so doing, all of her faults are just glaringly present. Everyone can see them. You're talking about this man is at least putting forth effort, okay? And every time it seems like he's putting forth a little bit of effort, you're the one that's doing all the pushbacks, and you're saying this about him and that about him, and him. And right now he's working with you, but like he said, you're gonna tire him out, and pretty soon he's just gonna say, you know what? Forget this. Okay, forget this. This is not going to work because she's not the type of person that I need in my life in order to make a relationship like this work. I'm looking for a long-lasting, loving relationship with a partner who believes in partnering. And when she's talking to me, she's not attacking me as though I'm the enemy, but that she's guarding me because she knows that I'm her husband. And so I think that that's where JASMINA will need to work on. And I'm hoping that, in this episode that we saw glimpses of, glimpses of light, that she is starting to recognize that she needs to do more in the relationship, because thus far, all she's been doing is being judgmental, okay, as opposed to taking on some responsibility, saying, okay, this is a problem. This is our relationship, and we both need to work on it. I like the yoga game that they played, and they which allowed them to look each other in the eye and respond to each other. And I think Michael had mentioned that it was the first time that they had really done that besides their wedding day, where they were actually looking each other in the eye and basically seeing the other person, really looking at and seeing their mate, and feeling their vibes and stuff like that. And I believe even JASMINA said that it was one of the most intimate moments that she had felt during their entire venture. So it's leading down that road to romance, and the only question is, can they keep it going without another blowout?
My favorite part of this entire episode was when JASMINA and Michael, when they asked each other, what did they like most about the other person? And Michael said that he liked her smile, and yes, she said that he liked her arms. I thought that was so wonderful. So I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite physical characteristic of your wife?
I would say her smile.
Okay.
Her smile melts me like butter.
Butter, man. All right. I'd say for my husband, he has just the most handsome physique. Oh my God. He has a very handsome physique. So that is just like, oh, I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, your parents, they did a beautiful job. They made a very handsome man. I need to thank them. But that was my favorite part of the episode. I really love to see people just really getting along and the romance there. I think that Jasmina gave us some insight as to why she's going to say no on decision day. When she was with the girls, Lindsay asked her, what number would you have to have in order to say yes on decision day? And Lindsay said, what about an 8? Would you say yes? And Jasmina said, yes, I would say yes if it's an 8. But then she said, basically paraphrasing, she said, but there's no time for an 8 because we've already wasted all of this time. And, you know, it's not very much time left in order for us to get to this 8 that you are pretending that might be. And Lindsay said, which very mature of Lindsay said, but, you know, through the hard times, you learn so much about them. And Jasmina said, I haven't learned anything. And I feel like that says something about her character. If you haven't learned anything, I've learned some things about Michael, and I haven't even been around him very much. Even in the conflict, I've learned some things. So the fact that she can't see anything that she's learned about the relationship, you can't be looking. You're not looking for anything to learn, or you're not open to learn. I think that says something about her and her character and just how she views life. I thought it was really funny when she couldn't find the hairbrush. And she's like, I know, I just had it. Had it. And he says, here it is. And where was it? It was in the bathroom, right where how many times have that happened to any one of us where you just laid something, it's right in front of you and you cannot find it. I love those real moments that happen, just like I can relate. That is how life goes. So I love that. And then I love that they were kind of playful when they were going to sleep doing a nightcap, but I still saw that as Jasmina taking control, because she said, hey, she kind of apologized at the yoga. She kind of apologized. She kind of took responsibility, but not really. And only reason I'm going to give it to her of taking responsibility is because Michael felt like she took responsibility. I felt like she didn't, but Michael says she did. So, hey, it's his marriage. I'm going to agree with him. She really didn't take responsibility to me, though, because she said, when we have conflict, it's not all your fault. So she didn't really say, you know what, I play a role and this is the role that I play in the conflict. She didn't say any of that. She just said, when we have conflict, it's not all your fault, which he took like, oh my God, this is the first time she's ever admitted fault. So, okay, he thought it was. Maybe she said more than that and we didn't hear it, and maybe she did. So that's fine. I'm going to say that she did. But it's not going to work. At the end, she's all, can I get a high five? Because I didn't interrupt you all day today. And he said, you know, I'm going to have to see a little more. And then she tricked him to give her a high five. I think that's just another way Jasmina always has to have her way. She cannot bend on not one thing, not even a high five. And that is not going to fare well for their relationship.
Hey, she needed a high five by any means possible.
And I agree with her, because she said, let's celebrate the small wins, which is true, but she's going to take it. She's going to get it. Whatever she says has to go. There is no bend. And that is not good.
Well, her admission that the problems with the relationship wasn't all Michael's fault. To him, that was a small step, okay, in the right direction. I mean, she was throwing so much 100% of blame on him so much earlier, so that any step in the direction where she'll take a little bit of responsibility, he said was a big step. So I think that's why he took that and ran with it, because man, they were short far between, you know, when it came down to her making any admission of guilt.
Yes, yes, I agree. Well, that ends our couples review. Who is your yes on decision day picks for the week?
Yes, I think this week I'm going to go with Steve and Noe, and it's hard, but I think I'm going to take my run and stay with Katina and Olajuwon.
Oh, awesome. Great picks. I'm going to stick with Noy and Steve, Katina and Elijah. And I think Lindsay and Mark are going to say yes on decision day. Well, that puts this episode in the books. What do you think? Join the conversation by shouting out in the comment section below. Who are your yes on decision day picks? Do you think that Elijah and Katina will overcome the vulnerability hump? Do you think that Jasmina and Michael made any progress this week towards a better relationship? What do you think about Lindsay? Do you think her control this week is moving them in the right direction? Make sure your opinion counts by telling us your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, it is time for the best part. Fuel you can use. It's a spiritual truth to help you make it through your week. Our fuel for this week is inspired by Lindsay and her desire to share her intimate and personal details, not only with her friends, but also with Kevin and Keisha and Elijah on the after party. It is taken from Proverbs chapter 11, verses 12 through 13. It says, "Whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding remains silent. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing covered." This can be a very, very fine line. Yes. Although I agree that there are some people that we can talk to, we can get advice from, and we can vent from, but you have to be very careful in your marriage who you talk to, what you talk to them about, and how you represent your spouse. And I believe we as spouses, that should be our best friend. So we want to protect them and make others see them in the best light possible. So although I don't think that it is nothing negative about us talking to those that we trust, but you have to be careful and make sure that it does not cross the line of slander and disrespect, and that you are keeping the secrets of your marriage confidential so that you do not lose the trust of your spouse. We just want to be uplifting to those who we are married. Not only who we're married to, our friends, our coworkers, anybody that we encounter, be sure not to slander them in your conversation with others. Well, John, can you believe it? We completed another week.
All right. All
right. So that wraps this episode up in the books. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, live with intention. Be intentional.